We are doing a review for chapter 8. That would be on your exam too. So let's take a look. Some definitions first. For the first one, if I ask you what is a rational number, how would you say? What is a rational expression? Or, what is another name for rational expression? So for rational number, right? For rational numbers, and we say they are what? For rational things, so they are a ratio, right? So how would you describe a rational number? We would say it is a what? Ratio thing, right? Ratio of two numbers. Not any number, decimal or fraction, is two integers, right? So it will look like what? A over B. And the denominator cannot be 0, right? So the denominator cannot be 0. So it means what? A fraction. Right? If we ask you what is a rational expression, so expression means what? Polynomial things, right? So it is still a ratio, not numbers anymore, not integers. It would be what? Two polynomials, right? Polynomials, right? Right, like P of Q, P of X over Q of X, right? Then the denominator cannot be 0. That means that would be a polynomial in fraction form, right? And another way we say rational expressions are math language, right? So it means what? All we can say it is what? An algebraic fraction. Is that right? So, for next one, with which operations is it possible to divide out common factors reduced before the operation is performed? So, for chapter 8, we are talking about what? Rational expressions. Is that right? What do we do with it? These skills: add, subtract, multiply, and divide, plus what? Complex fractions, right? And also solving equations and solving problems. So we say rational expressions are what? Used for the math language, right? For algebra language as well. So then for which operations? So that would be what? Add, subtract, multiply, and divide. For those, which one we are going to use, we can reduce before the operation is performed. So we are doing what? Multiplication, right? And it says what is the more common name for this process? So we also use what? Cross cancel. Means what? Reduce in advance. Next one, how do you divide rational numbers and rational expressions? So what do we do when we were doing what? Division. So first what? We change division to what? Multiplication. Then we flip the second term, right? We also said what? It means what? Multiply the reciprocal of the second term. That's how we did on the division, right? Either for regular numbers, fractions, or what? Rational expressions. Which operations within those, right? With fractions required the LCD when we do what? Add and subtract. So when we do multiplication and division, we don't need a LCD. We just multiply straight across and we reduce in advance, right? But for addition and subtraction, we need a what? LCD. Next one, let's just skip it. We'll do it actual problem later. Then on your page 2, define the term complex fraction. So in between, we were learning all the rational expressions. We did add, subtract, multiply, divide, right? That's what we have been doing. And also we did what? Solving equations, right? That will be on your test. Then we do what? Word problems, right? In between, we also learned something called what? The term complex fraction. So what kind of things we call it a complex fraction? Means what? Complicated one, right? Complex one. So it is what? It is a fraction which has what? Fractions in its what? Denominator and numerator, or both, right? Besides, we learn all this. One more thing we learned will be the what? Complex fraction. So that would be on your exam 2. Next one, when do we use the LCD? Right? When we use that, we use LCD, right? So we use add and subtract fractions. We use LCD. Okay? We can also use what? LCD when we solve a rational equation, right? We did that. When we solve equations, we use LCD as well, okay? Then we also can do this, but this one we can multiply LCD in the complex fraction as well, but we didn't practice this way. So, and don't worry about it. So we didn't use in class. We didn't use this so far. Okay, just to let you know. So I'm not going to test you on this question. We will just what? Actually do it. Okay? So just to let you have some kind of idea, we use LCD also for something else as well. Okay, let's practice some more for the things in your exam too, right? Rational expressions for add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Then we also learn what? Complex fractions, right? Then we also did what? Solving equations for complex, for rational expressions. And we also did some what? Word problems, right? Let's practice some more on those. So, let's see, next one. We have two questions like this. Usually you will mingle them. Let's see what's the difference. What do you think? They are different, right? One with what? Equation, one does not. So if it with equation, we need to solve it, right? If it's just no equation, and it means what? You want to write it in a single fraction, right? So for this one, what should we do? We use what? LCD, right? Times 3, that would be 3x, times 2, 2x. So that would be what? 5x over 12, right? For equation, we need to find the value of x. So what do? We make a single fraction, right? So that would be use 12, right? Which we did before, right? If you use 12 here, then that would be times 12 on both. That would be 120. Then we have what? 5x over 12 equals 120 over 12, right? Then same denominator, we can ignore. Then what do we have? 5x equals 120. To solve x, get x by itself, divided by 5, it's 24. Main is you need to pay attention that they are different problems. One is what? With equation sign, one doesn't. If you don't have the equation sign, then that means what? Writing a single fraction, simplify by adding. This one you have to solve it, right? And you will get confused on those during the test time. Next one, we are going to do, so for your rational expressions, we do what? Add, subtract, multiply, and divide, right? And sometimes we will have what? A complex fraction, and which will include all the skills you need, basic skills, right? Because you have to do divide, and you have to do add and subtract. Then for division, it involves what? Multiplication as well. So we say, how should we start the complex fraction? Because it's complicated, we want to simplify. Simplify means what? Only write as a single fraction. Something simple on the numerator and something simple on the denominator, right? So first thing, what do? Treat this line as what? A division, right? So you write it as a regular division. Then we do what? We write a single fraction for both of them so we can divide them, right? So for this one, you write a single fraction, 1/8, right? 3b. So what's your LCD? You need a 3ab, right? So for the A1, you need to times 3b, right? For the 3b, you have to times A, so that would be that. Is that right? So we will have what? 2a plus 3b over 3ab, right? So the first fraction would be 2a plus 3b over what? 3ab, right? Then for the next fraction, we will have 2ab minus 3b squared, right? Then what's your LCD? You need to have b squared and 2a as well. So you have 2ab squared, right? So this one would be multiplied by b, right? And this one would be multiplied by 2a, so that's a 6a, right? So I will write a what? 5b minus 2a over 2ab squared. Usually we just follow the what? Alphabetical order. I would write 2a, negative 2a plus 5b, 2ab squared, right? So it would be divided by 2a plus 5b over 2ab squared. Is that right? Then change the multiplication, division to multiplication. Do the reciprocal. 2a plus 3b, 3ab, right? Can you cancel this 2a and this 2a? We said don't do that because it's only part of the thing, right? The group. So you have to look at this. Is this a prime? Yes. Put the parentheses around, right? So you cannot split whatever inside. You only can cancel with what? Parentheses things, right? What keeps reminding you that. So anything else we can cross cancel? How about those? Those are multiplying, so you can cross cancel this, cross 1b, you have 1b left, right? So what's on the top? We have, that would be what? 2b times 2a plus 3b, right? The bottom would be 3 times minus 2a plus 5b. Is that right? Oh, it's a 6a. I was checking. Okay, so this should be 6. This should be 6, right? So that would be, I was just checking the answer. So that would be 6. Are we good? I was just checking the typos. Okay. So we just did what? A complex fraction. Let's look at the next one on your page 3. Problem G. Okay. It says, how can you add or subtract two fractions if their denominators are opposite? Okay, so you need to know how for this one. X minus 5 plus what? 3x plus 8, 5 minus x. They are similar, but all the signs are opposite, right? Then we say, what do we need to do? We need to write a what? In standard form. Right? That would be negative x plus 5, 3x plus 8. Right? Then we will do what? Write in prime forms. That means you take a negative out. Then that will be the same inside as another one. Right? Then what do? We move the sign, negative sign from the bottom to the above or to the outside, right? So if you apply this negative to the top instead of to the bottom, that means what? Everything has to change the sign, right? Then you should have what? Negative 3x minus 8, right? You have to change the signs for all the things above. Then what do we have? We combine the top. That would be 4x plus 3 minus 3x minus 8, right? Then you combine like term will be what? X minus 5, right? Can we leave the answer there? Can we simplify more? Don't cross cancel individual one because they are primes, both of them. You need to put what? Parentheses around. Then you can cancel both. Then you can simplify them. Okay? So when they are in opposite sign, you need to change it to standard form, then move negative to the top or outside, away from the denominator. So you can make the denominator same, then you combine the top, right? So when we solve what? Rational equations, then there are restrictions, right? What kind of restrictions we are talking about? Because they are fractions, the denominator cannot be 0. So sometimes you solve problem correctly, but there are extra answers which you cannot use. Those things we call them what? Extraneous solution. So if we ask you what are extraneous solutions, it means what? It is when you do it correctly, right? When you solve an equation correctly, but you might pick up some answers undesirable, right? And extra solution, right? Which doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because you will make the denominator zeros, right? So we did this a few times, so let's do some more problems. like those. Okay, let's see next example. So if we have, that's still only okay. So z minus 3z over 2 minus z equals 6z minus 2, right? Do we have an equation or just an expression? Actually, it's an equation. That means you have to find a z, not just simplify them, right? So we say we have to use what? LCD. So for this one, you don't have any, that would be 1, right? Then, just like we practiced earlier, you have same thing, 2 minus z is same thing as z minus 2, except you have opposite sign, then you have to switch this one. So you need to use denominator as well, z minus 2, right? Minus z minus 2 equals what? Z minus 2. This is 6, right? Then this one, when you change the 2 minus z becomes z minus 2, you take a negative out, you move outside, this one becomes what? Plus, right? So you didn't move to the top, you move to the side, they are the same. Then this one, z minus 2 is the extra, so you need to multiply z minus 2 on the numerator as well, right? Then we are going to solve it. At the same time, we say what? When we solve the rational expression, you will have some kind of issues for the restriction, right? Z equals what? Some numbers, except which number we cannot use? 2, because it will make the denominator zeros, right? Then we combine the top, z times z minus 2 plus 3z equals, right? Make them single fractions, so they are the same. We can ignore, then we deal with the top only. So become what? You distribute, so z squared minus 2z plus 3z equals 6, right? Then what kind of equations we have? We combine like term. We combine like terms, then we have an equation, but not in standard form, right? So we make it as a standard form. So we have this, then what kind of equations? We call it, we square it means what? A quadratic equation, right? Then what do? We simplify them. Leading coefficient is 1, so you write it just like that. And two numbers multiplied together is -6. Added together is 1. Right? Then what do we have? We have z plus 3 equals 0, or z minus 2 equals 0, right? By zero product property. So this one, z is -3, this one, z is 2. Then, can we circle the answer? How about -3? Yes. How about 2? No. So, when this happens, we call this one what? Extraneous solution. Right? Okay, let's see. Next one. So, what kind of things we call it a proportion. Proportion means what? Portion, and they are the same, right? So we say proportion means what? It is something the same, fraction styles, right? So it is an equation, right, in which two fractions are the same, are equal, right? Two portions are the same. We call them what? Proportions. Next one, when can we cross multiply? We call it hot dog theorem, right? We use that for what? Proportion. We did a few problems earlier, right? It is what? A shortcut to solve a proportion. I probably will not ask you for it, just ask you actually do it, right? So proportion, we can just, because of simple fractions, we can just do the proportion and shortcut to solve a rational equation, right? Okay, let's do some more applications. We said on this chapter, we do two kinds of applications. We emphasize more on those, okay? One is what? Third problem. One is job problem, right? First one on your page 2. Page 4, okay? Martha and her sister Rita decided to meet at the family ski cabin for the weekend. And Rita will drive what? Rita will drive 100 miles to get there. And Martha will drive how many miles? 120 miles to get there. Since Martha drives 10 miles per hour faster than Rita, it takes them the same amount of time to get to the cabin, right? So they talk before they go, then they start to drive, then they will reach there at the same time, right? So the question is, what is Martha's speed? Or in a way, we have to know Rita's speed as well. Then how long does it take each of them to get to the cabin? Then we say, how should we do the third problem? First step, we do what? Write the things we needed with how many variables? Just one, right? With one variable. And we will use the analysis table, right? To write what on the top? The calculations thing on the top. So that would be what? RTD. R is miles per hour, T is your hours, D is your distance, right, by miles. Then we'll put the two different scenarios on the bottom. One is for Rita, one is for Martha, right? Then do we know the speeds for either of them? We do not. So for the things we don't know, we use what? X, right? Then if we put X for Rita, what's the Martha's speed? Martha is what? Let's see. 10 miles faster. 10 miles per hour faster. So that should be what? X plus 10, right? Then we don't know the time, but do we know the distance? Yes. Rita is 100 miles. Martha is 120 miles. But from these two, we can calculate the times, right? Time is what? Distance divided by speed. So that will be 100 divided by x. This one will be 20 divided by x plus 10, right? Then we say what? For second step, we write the equation, right? We said, what did they say? They get to the cabin the same time, same amount of time, right? So your equation should be what? 100x equals what? 120 over x plus 10, right? So we have a what? Rational equation in special case, which is what? Proportion. So can we use shortcut to solve the rational equation because it's proportion? Yes. So we do that hot dog. So we solve it. So that would be 120x equals 100 times x plus 10, right? Then we distribute. So that would be 100x plus what? 1100. Is that right? Then we have a linear equation, right? So it's 20x equals 1100 divided by 20. That would be what? X equals what? 55. 55 of what? Am I right? Oh, never mind. Didn't pay attention. That's what? 1,000, right? So that's 1,000. That would be what? 50. 50 goats, $50. No, 50 of what? X, for X, that would be what? Miles per hour. For whom? Right here, right? That's for Rita. So what's the Martha's speed? 10 miles more. So Martha would be 60 miles per hour, right? So the question was, how long does it take each of them to get to the cabin? So 100 miles for 50 miles per hour, that will be divided by 50. That would be 2 hours for Rita. How about Martha? That would be 120 miles divided by 60. That would be what? 2 hours. Are they the same? Yes, supposed to, right? That was the question. It says they both took the same time to get there. Next one, for job problem, to work together. It says Edgar can blow the leaves off the sidewalks around the Capitol building in 2 hours. Use a leaf blower. Ellen can do the same job in 8 hours using a broom. Poor Ellen. How long will it take them to do the entire job together? So one person is what? 2 hours. Another person is 8 hours. So if they do it together, we will expect what? Do the half would be what? 1 hour here, 4 hours here, right? So it should be between 1 hour to 4 hours. But since Edgar can do it in 2 hours, so you know the answer would be what? Less than 2 hours, right? Should be 1 hour something. Is that right? So you get a rough idea what we expect first. So for the job problem, we write down the analysis, right? So we will write the equation, right? Because the total job is 1, then we will write what? The work done by Edgar, right? Total is 1. And then the work done by Ellen, right? So with X hour, then 2 hours for Edgar to finish, 8 hours for Ellen to finish. So X hour, how much Edgar can finish would be X out of the whole thing of 2 hours. So would be X over 2, right? Then for 8 hours for Ellen to finish. So X hour will be what? Part of X out of 8. How many hours out of 8 hours? That would be portion of work would be done by Ellen, right? This would be portion X hour out of 2 hours, right? Would be portion of the 2 hours would be done by Edgar. So you have equation, then you will solve it by LCD, right? That's X, that's multiplied by 4. 4X equals what? With LCD 8. So we have 5X over 8 equals 8 over 8, right? So we can do 5x equals 8 divided by 5. X equals what? 8 over 5 hours, which is what? 1.6 hours for them to work together to finish the job. Total job is what? 1, right? Okay, let's practice some more. So for this class, you have 2 places you will have difficulties, right? One is the fraction. Another one is called crazy numbers. So if you can overcome this one, which you should be okay, all right? So let's see. What do we have here? A rational expression, right? What do you think we need to do? It's a single one already. That means we need to make it simpler, right? So for rational expressions, we will do what? Simplifying, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, right? So this one, how can we simplify more? Is that a prime? So you check if it's a prime or not. So it's not a square minus b squared, the difference of 2 squares. So a squared minus b squared is what? A plus b, a minus b, right? So we have x and 1. So plus and minus for x and 1, right? Then the bottom one is what? A trinomial. So trinomial, we should do what? AC method. But the leading coefficient is 1. We can just put x there and find the 2 numbers. Multiplying together is 1. Adding together is -2. So that would be your -1, -1, right? Can we simplify? Yes. Then the answer is what? X plus 1, x minus 1. Can you cross the x and x? We said what? Don't do that, because that's part of group. you cannot cancel portion of it, right? Next one, divide by x squared minus 4, 5x to the 4th power. So for division, we say, what do we need to do? Change it to multiplication and flip the second term, right? Then we check. Are they in standard forms? Yes. Are they in prime forms? Let's take a look. Is this a prime binomial? Yes. Put the parenthesis around. That's x. Then 5x 4th power is the simplest you can get. Then x squared minus 4 is what? The difference of 2 squares, right? So you split them, x and 2. So plus minus, right? X 2, 2, right? Then can we cross cancel something? X minus 2, x minus 2. And this one you can cross cancel one of the x. You have x third on the top. Then what do? Multiply straight across. So we will have 5x cubed, x plus 2, right? So we did the simplifying, multiplication and division here. Then we should do some what? Do something about addition and subtraction again, right? So this one is a over a squared plus 2a minus 8 plus 3a plus 4, right? So, do we have a standard forms? Yes. Do we have a prime forms? Let's check. Can we break down this? Yes. That would be a and a. 8 can be what? Plus 4 minus 2, right? End up add together would be positive 2. Then we have 3a plus 4. It's a prime, put a parenthesis around. So we have prime forms, right? Then what's next? We will write a what? LCD form, in LCD form, right? So it should be what? A plus 4 and a minus 2, right? So this one, a minus 2, is extra. You have to do the top as well. That's 3. This one the same. Now we have same LCD. Then we can combine the top, a plus what? Distribute 3 minus 6, right? So we should have 4a minus 6, a plus 4, a minus 2, right? Are we done? We are not sure. We better check because this one is not prime. So in case you can cross cancel something. So you will check what? 2, take 2 out, becomes what? 2a minus 3, a plus 4, a minus 2. Then you take a look. Can you cancel out anything? Not really. So this one will be your answer already. Or you can write in prime forms, then that way as well. Either way would be fine, right? Then let's do some more complex fractions. So you will have one of those problems on your exam, right? The numbers, you're supposed to be able to do it regardless. Okay? So first, you write a what? As a division, right? So you should just do it straightforward. Half plus 2/3, half plus 2/3, right? It's what? 6. That would be 3. This would be what? 4. That would be 7, 6. Is that right? So you have a 7, 6 divided by 1/4 minus 5/8. So that would be 8 as an LCD, 2 and 5, right? That would be what? -3/8, right? So divided by -3/8. So that would be 7, 6 times what? 3/8. So that would be cross cancel 3 and 4. So that would be what? -28/9. Is that right? If you have this kind of problems on your exam, you should be able to do it because they are just a bunch of fractions, regular numbers, right? All you have to do is just simplify each top and bottom, then divide them. You should get the right answer, right? And if this one, that would be more complicated because you have variables there. But the ideas are the same. So what do we do? How should we start? We should write what? In division, right? Style. So then you simplify individual fractions. Before you can divide, you need to write as what? A single fraction for each of them, right? So what do we have? 2 minus 1x, you put a 1 underneath. The LCD should be what? X, right? So this one times x here, x there, should be 2x. And this one still 1. Then you combine the numerators. So you should have 2x minus 1 over x, right? Then for the next expression, you should have what? 2x squared as your LCD, right? So this times by 2, that would be 2. This times by x squared, so x squared. So we have what? 2x squared and 2 minus x squared, right? You can write it in standard form. That would be what? Next x squared plus 2 and 2x squared, right? So divided by -x squared plus 2, 2x squared. Then for division, we multiply its reciprocal, right? This is a prime. And this one, you can take a negative out, but you can see it's x squared minus 2. You cannot, simplify anymore or to break down. So not much you can do about it on this one. That would be the simplest form. So you can take negative out or you don't. Either way would be fine. And this one would be cross out the x. So what do we have on the top? 2 times 2x minus 1, right? This one is a negative x squared plus 2. You can write the answer this way, or we say, oh, we don't like negative on the bottom, you can take a negative out. Negative x squared minus 2 to 2x minus 1. But we cannot leave answer here because negative cannot be on the denominator. You move on the top, 2x minus 1, x squared minus 2. Okay, so you can, oops, I missed one x here. Double check the answer, x here, right? So you can have answer either this one or this one. So when you do it, you can just do it slowly, or you can do it first by yourself. Then watch the video and follow through, see you can get the same answer. That's good practice, all right? So you have a what? Blank paper, right? With all the questions. So you probably wanted to do it yourself first, then follow through the board and see if you do it right step by step, right? You can do it that way. So you will have one of those questions on your exam as well. Okay, for next one, we write it as what? A division, right? Right? Then we will simplify each rational expression become a what? Single fraction, right? So 1x minus 1 over 2x, LCD will be what? 2x, right? So this one multiplied by 2, that would be 2, that would be 1. Am I right? Okay, so just make sure we don't have typos. So the first one will be 1 over 2x, right? And next one, 1/3, 1 over 3x plus 1 over 4x. So your LCD will be what? XX. They are the same. 3 and 4 will be what? 12, right? So this one multiplied by 4. This one will be multiplied by 3. So that would be 7 over 12x, right? So 7 over 12x. Then what will we do? Change division, multiplication becomes reciprocal for the second term. So 1 over 2x. Anything we can cross cancel? Yes, XX. 2 and 12 would be 6. Is that right? So the answer should be what? 6/7. Right? Okay, so we are practicing more on the add, subtract, multiply, and divide on rational expressions, right? Let's solve more equations as well. So look at the page 6, number 7. So for this one, all the forms are in prime forms, right? So we know, we can see from there if they are all in primes. We can see x would be what? some numbers except what? You cannot have -1, you cannot have 3, right? Then to solve rational equations, how should we start? So we started with what? All the primes. And next one, we wanted to make each side as simple as possible, right? With as one single fraction. Then you need to use LCD, which is what? X plus 1, x minus 3, right? X plus 1, x minus 3. Same thing as here, x plus 1, x minus 3. Then we take a look which one is the extra things. Then we will do it for the top as well. So this one is extra, x plus 1. This one, x plus 1 is extra. This one is what? X minus 3. Right? Then the original one is 3. This is 1. This one you have x minus 2 there. Then what do we do? Write the single fraction for both sides, right? So this side will be what? 3x minus 3 plus x plus 1, right? We distribute them and try to make it simple. Then this one will be x squared minus x minus 2. You just FOIL them, right? Then see what do we have. Oops, did you see my typo? That's 9, right? So do what I say, don't do what I do, right? So they are the same. We can ignore because the restriction with the restrictions. So that would be 4x minus 8. This would be x squared minus x minus 2, right? What kind of equations we have? Not in a standard form, a quadratic. And x squared is on this side, so move everything to this side, right? Minus 4x plus 8, right? 0 equals x squared minus 5x plus 6. Am I right? Then we do what? Trinomial. We split them, factor them, right? Am I right? So this one, x should be what? 3. Or this one should be what? 2. Can I circle the answers? 3. Oops, cannot do. That's extraneous. Right? Can I use x equals 2? Yes, because 2 will now make the denominators 0. Right? Are we good? Let's look at the next one. 8, number 8. 1 over x minus 2 equals x 2x plus minus 4 and plus 1, right? A rational equation. So we try to make the LCD. Before we make LCD, before we can find the LCD, we need to have prime forms so we can figure out which LCD we need to cover all the primes, right? Then before we use the primes, we have to find out if they are in standard forms. Yes, they are all in standard forms. Then we make as what? Prime forms now, right? That's 1. So x minus 2, yes, it is a prime. This one is x, right? This one is not prime, so you take 2 out, right? This one is such. So we are in prime forms. Then let's do what? LCD forms, right? So LCD would be 2 and this, right? So you need what? 2 and x minus 2, everyone. 2x minus 2 plus 2x minus 2, right? Then now we can see in prime forms with LCD, we can tell then your answer would be x is some numbers except of what? Because you have prime forms, you can tell and which numbers will make the denominator 0, right? So that would be, let's see, 2 is extra, so I need 2, right? This one is the same, this one both are extra, so you need both here. Then this one original is 1, this one the same x, right? Then we write what? As a single fraction for both sides. So that would be, this would be what? X plus 2x minus 4, right? Then we don't need to worry about the denominators now with restrictions, right? So we will have 2 equals 3x minus 4. Am I right? Do I have typos? Looks all right. So plus 4. So I have 6 equals 3x. Then my x will be what? 2, right? Divided by 3. Can I circle it? No. So this one is what? Extraneous. But I still have to tell what's my x. So I can say x is what? No solution or doesn't exist. Either one would be fine. Right? Do we practice enough of them? Not enough for you. You need to practice a lot. Okay? So, until you can do it by heart without hesitation, right? So, next one. Do we have a rational equation? However, both sides are already in a what? Single fraction. So can we use shortcut? Yes, because we have what? Proportion. So we can just do that, right? So x times x plus 2 is what? X plus 1 times x minus 3, right? Then simplify it. So x squared plus 2x equals what? FOIL out. Minus 2x minus 3, right? Then if I minus x squared minus 2x, move over to that side, minus x squared minus 2x. What do I have? Let's go away. I have 0 equals what? Negative 4x minus 3, right? At the same time, we have restrictions, don't forget. So we say X is what? Some numbers, except which numbers we cannot use. Don't forget X cannot be 0, right? Or 3, right? Those will make the denominator zeros. Okay? Then when we solve this, plus 3. So we have 3 equals what? Negative 4x. Then divided by negative 4. So your x is what? Negative 3/4. Can we circle the answer? Yes, because it's okay. Right? So that would be your answer. That will cover the review 2 for your chapter 8. Study and get ready for the exam 2.